And I'll tell you guys since we're all friends. Every character I write has a piece of me in them.
Hi, I'm Lee Bardugo, and you're listening to the GrishaCast.
Welcome to GrishaCast, episode 56. In this episode, we are covering chapters 5 and 6 from the book King of Scars. This is your host, Eric.
And I'm Terry. From Nashville, Tennessee, this is your podcast for all things Grishaverse.
A world created by the wonderful Lee Bardugo. Moi savayeni casters!
Hello.
So, we are here, and for those of you guys watching on YouTube, just letting you know real quickly, Terry looks great, doesn't she? I think so.
Never looked better.
Yeah, so we have some listener cities, don't we?
We sure do.
Mm-hmm.
We have Makati, Philippines.
Ah, that's wonderful. And then Eberbach, Germany. Thank you, guys.
So far away.
I know, it really is. So, for those of you asking how you can help, we would greatly appreciate tips. $1 goes a long way. Your tips will help us to continue to bring you the GrishaCast. You can Venmo a tip to @BODHIMM.
Or Cash App, $, BODHIMM. Also, leaving a review on your podcast platform, liking and following us on our socials, especially our YouTube channel, would make us oh so very happy.
Happy. So, we're going to start off, and I'm going to ask, how is your week, girl?
Oh, boy. I don't even know. It went by so fast.
Mm-hmm.
With all the news that we'll talk about later.
Oh,
and everything that was like going on, it was just like it just seemed like it went by so fast with work and school and business. It was just crazy.
It sure did. I'm just pouring your tea, girl. So.
Oh, thank you. I could use a spot of tea.
Yes, just a small little spot. I'm gonna get you covered up. So, for those of you that aren't watching on YouTube, Terry is not live in our studio with me this evening, but
no,
we still are doing this, and she is safe at home. What are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm sitting in bed with my kitties in my lap.
Okay.
And my dog having little puppy dreams.
Aw.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I just want to make sure you got set up. And I gave you 2 little things of monk fruit. Hope that's enough sweetener for you.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
By the way, your hair is phenomenal.
I know. It is so good.
Yes, it's very hocus pocus.
I need that color in real life, like on my head.
Yes,
like that would look so good.
Yeah, I just love that wig, and I haven't been able to use it. That was actually my Halloween costume. I was gonna go at work. We all were gonna dress up, and us at the counter were gonna be the Hocus Pocus sisters, and I got my outfit, and then something happened. I got COVID, so, and I spent so much money on that like costume, girl. I mean, anyways, so I'm glad you can use it.
Well, yes. Maybe you should just like go to the grocery store in the full get-up just for fun.
Whew. It is a get-up too. I mean, it was spot on, and also for those of you guys listening, I have put a lovely picture of Terry up. So that is her face. It's a picture of me and her. So, yeah, in case you're wondering what's going on, you got to go to YouTube and look at it. So, anyways,
I've never looked better.
You haven't. So, yeah, it has been a crazy week. We had so much news, and I'm really glad that it's Friday. I'm glad. I was just waiting for the weekend, and here it is. Th-
Just kind of snuck up on you.
yeah. Well, it was a long week, but so why don't we just go ahead and get started?
Yeah, because we'll have a lot to talk about when we're done with this.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, chapter 5, we are with Miss Nina, and they are at Gafala. I have the quote from the beginning of the chapter. You're welcome, Eric. Gafala. The closer they drew to the town, the harder it was to ignore the rustling whispers in her head. Sometimes Nina could swear she heard voices, the dim shapes of words just beyond understanding. Other times, the sound dwindled to the rush of wind through reeds. Tell them, my love. But what was there to tell? The sound might be nothing. It might be auditory hallucination, some remnant of her bout with Purim. Or it might be the dead drawing her on. End quote. So they
Ooh.
got to, like, as they're going to the town, these, like, whispers are just, like, getting louder and louder. So something is, like, kind of drawing her in. But, like, what it is exactly, no idea.
No clue yet. Mm-mm.
No clue yet. And again, you know, when she says some remnant of her bout with Purim, we still have to remember that who knows what's going on with her.
Yeah, she is the one character I think that has like out of everybody in the story so far that's changed the most from the other books and stories because she literally has like she's very different. Um,
Yes.
it's not that lovable Nina that we had when we first met her in Six of Crows, and then like loving Matthias through Crooked Kingdom. She's mournful and sad, and she's got some crazy powers that we don't even know how to like explain.
Yeah, she's gone through some things.
Hmm. And as I said last
So,
week, she's sorry, she's also
no,
toting around poor Matthias's body, so she's holding on to a little bit of weight. Maybe she
yes.
let go, girl. Let go.
Yes. So, like, physically and emotionally, she's got all this dead weight. So the old factory is actually hopping with soldiers coming in and out, but it's unclear as to like what's really going on there. A local says something about soldiers pouring their filth into the river, but some other woman is like, you don't need to be telling that to strangers.
No, no.
So there's no proper inns at the area, so they have to stay at a convent, which is funny.
Yeah, I know.
Um, on the way there, Nina notices that there are still like signs of saints, like altars and icons along the way, which is really out of place at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's Fjerda.
Nina, Adric, and Leonie get to the convent, which they agree to take them in. And while they are talking about meals, the well mother says something about water rationing. And Nina is like, what the heck does that mean? And the well mother says that they get their water from another well that's like farther away. She says it's to contemplate on gel, but Nina suspects that it's to avoid the dirty water.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's a horrible excuse that the well mother gave. Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
go get water from a farther place because it gives you time to contemplate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
No, that doesn't make any sense.
No.
So the three of them go on a walk, and Adric and Leonie are being all cutesy, which makes Nina stabby. She's like, I don't want to watch y'all fall in love and get all silly while I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with. They are in sightlines of the factory, and the voices in Nina's head just get so loud. And she kind of notices that it used to be a fort. Leonie suggests taking some samples from the water, and she'll try to isolate whatever pollutant is in it. As she's thinking about finding a place to return Matthias to his god, they hear soldiers next to the stream. Uh-oh.
Wonderful.
One was caught in his horse's stirrup, barely avoiding like being trampled on. And Nina makes a comment like, okay, oh well, one less Fjerdan to plague us.
Yeah.
And the other two do not approve of this statement. And she kind of is like, well, I don't really approve of that either. And I have a quote here that goes along with that.
Okay.
But since Matthias had left her, been taken from her, Nina had lost the part of her that cared. What was the point of it all? You saved one life for only another one to be taken. The good perished. And the bad? Nina looked at the young Fjerdans in their uniforms, killers in the making. What right did they have to survive when her Matthias, her beautiful barbarian, was gone? Nina. She wished she could clasp her hands over her ears and tell him to leave her alone, but that was the last thing she wanted. Must you insist I stay human? She complained silently. I know how strong you are, Nina. My death will not be the thing that defeats you. End quote. So we've all kind of like gone through something like that in our life where
Right.
we're like, screw it all. It doesn't matter. I don't care. So we all can kind of feel for her. But she's also having a conversation with Matthias still. Like she's still talking to him in her head.
So, what do you think? Since we've started the story, we've started to ever since Nina came into the picture and the first chapter of her, they introduced her hearing Matthias speak. I mean, I wonder whether maybe she actually can. Maybe that is Matthias actually speaking to her, or maybe because she's hearing all these other voices, or maybe she's just
Yes.
hearing voices.
Yes, I assume, again, me being the one that has not read on, and that I'm sticking with our reading. My guess is that she can actually hear him because she's hearing voices from the town. So like, why wouldn't she hear Matthias, who she was really close to? And because she's got her weird like power. So that's my guess, is that she actually is
Yeah.
having a conversation with him.
Yes. Because it definitely has to do with the Parem thing. It's part of her new power.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of actually like, I know it sucks that Matthias died, but it's also kind of like, and now she has the power to at least be able to have him like butt in every once in a while, and he might not physically be there, but he's still talking to her and saying like, encouraging things. So, sounds like she needs the company.
Yeah, but like, what if she needs to go and have like
Closure.
what if she needs to go to the club and like find some way to like forget about him like physically? Is he still like there like, hey Nina, what are you doing with that guy?
I guess we'll find out. First she's got to get rid of like the baggage of his actual
Yes.
body, and then maybe we'll see. But I don't know. I think since she's still carrying around this I don't know. I literally every time imagine her like toting this huge Fjordan of a man, kind of like a pocketbook, like this
Yeah.
big purse, and yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
All right.
yeah.
So Leonie says that she can help with the horses. So, which actually was kind of funny because she's like the sunshiny one, and she's like, I can help. And they're like, I hope it's not that once I pet a pony. I don't know why that's so funny. So anyway, she wants to help with the horses, and that's when Nina realizes that the soldiers are actually women.
Dun dun dun.
Women are not allowed to be soldiers in Fjerda, and the uniforms are way too big, so it's obvious that they stole them.
Yeah.
Leonie saves the girl and calms the horse down, and instead of being grateful, the lead girl is like really defensive, and she's like asking questions without answering any of Nina's. It turns out that they are studying at the convent, and of course they are terrified of being caught. Well, doesn't that work out, since the three of them don't want to attract attention either.
Perfect.
So let's talk about Nina's restraint here. Like, she acts like a true Fjerdan. You know, like when she was studying to be a soldier at first, everybody was like, she's not subtle, she's not a good soldier, she just causes accidents everywhere she goes, she just reacts. But
Right.
in this moment, she like pretends kind of like she's Matthias, and she starts acting like a true Fjordan. She's like, well, you're not supposed to ride like that. You know, why are you acting like that? And she's turning to like Adric as the male of the group too to get his approval or whatever. So like she's really playing the part here. She does not break her character. So like we should be really proud of her right now.
Absolutely. And yeah, she's doing good. She's playing her role.
Yes. She is getting it. So Nina keeps telling the girl that she needs to say like Nina's telling the girl that Nina's gonna have to like say something to the well mother, like I'm gonna have to say something. It's just like how we need to do this. And Adric is like, you know, let's just not speak of this day, which is relieving to everyone involved, and that obviously works out for everyone. So when the girls leave, they get samples of water, but Nina goes alone back to the factory. She follows these whispers and voices back there. They lead her to like another side of it that looks all run down. It doesn't look like there's anything to see there. It just looks like it's in ruin. Um, but the whispers at this point get really, really loud, and she realizes that it sounds like they're in pain. So she quiets her brain and like kind of uses her power to follow them. She asks them like, what's wrong? And she gets dragged into this like tide of death that is just like dragging her in. And she struggles to like come back to the living world and realizes that all the voices were women and girls in the hundreds. So like hundreds of women and girls. They are all dead. And she realizes that she's surrounded by graves. End
Wow.
of chapter.
And see, like, so her power literally has changed. I mean, she is like, I mean, now she's the Grisha of death, right? I mean, because I
Yeah.
mean, she she can get corpses to like move around. She now hears people that have passed away and hears their voice. So like her like the Param like did such an interesting thing to her. Um and that just always keeps me thinking like I want to like I don't know, I just want to know more about that. Like I mean cuz I mean she is the first Grisha to survive it, and it's just such an interesting thing that like surviving that completely like changed her to a totally different person and a totally different power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun to watch it grow.
Yes. And just a nod back to the very beginning. I loved it when she killed people with like bone shards.
Bone shards,
Like
yeah.
that was some cool stuff.
Like pieces of people.
Yes. And it's so crazy. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know I changed your face. We now have a picture of you and me dressed up for Halloween, and we're at this it was a party, and the theme was a stranger's things theme. So anyways, it was fun. So we took this cute picture, and you know what? I will actually I'll put these pictures on our social media because even the people on YouTube can't see because unfortunately it's just well, I mean, but I'm scared I'm gonna mess her up. I mean, like I don't want people to notice she's a paper. Oh, okay. So there we go. Perfect. Well, we're gonna put you back down, girl. Scared.
Thank you.
Yes. See, I mean, I was nervous about doing that, but you know, you're here in spirit, girl. You are.
Of course.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, going on to the next chapter, we have chapter 6, and this one is Nikolai. So, I'm starting off with the reading from the very beginning. Nikolai and Tolya brought David and Nadia back to the capital by way of the underground tunnel that stretched from the Gilded Bog all the way to the grounds of the Grand Palace. 15 miles of travel far beneath the surface of the earth. Poor Tolya muttered to himself the entire way in verse. Nikolai would have liked to spare Tolya and his own ears the trauma of the journey, but his head of security had insisted he was fine. Besides, Nikolai had received word that the crowd of pilgrims camped outside the city walls had grown in recent days and that some were demanding an audience with the king. All he needed was an overzealous zealot to hurl himself beneath the hooves of one of the royal riders. Nikolai did not intend to make any martyrs today. End quote. So, um, I like that one.
Overzealous zealot.
Yes, and also, did you notice they're traveling in an underground tunnel that's like 15 miles below? Do you think possibly our best friend Ismrud is around there?
Oh my gosh, he better be.
I know. Is he like, are you still out there? He's got to
Hello?
be. Yes, he is. He is. I mean, obviously, because I mean, that's that underground tunnel 15 miles below. Yeah, he's still searching, and
Mm-hmm.
he's just, poor thing. But another thing that I think is really crazy about the beginning is just the mention that there's these pilgrims outside of Oz Alta, and they're like, they want to speak to the king. Like, it's just a lot of weird stuff is going on in Ravka right now. So, and we're going to get more into that because of this chapter, actually.
Well,
So,
that's what kind of happened with Alina too. Remember when Alina was there? Um,
oh,
all the people, all the little pilgrims, whatever, were outside gathered up. So it kind of reminds me of that.
yeah, but that was like really like crazy. They were like in, because they were in love with her so much that they were tearing her apart.
Yeah.
um, so they sneak back into Oz Alta and they are greeted by two of Nikolai's most trusted palace guards. They happen to be brothers. The first one's name is Truckin, and Truckin likes to laugh and is a lot of fun. And then his brother, Isaac, is very quiet and the total polar opposite. But they're in good favors with Nikolai. Nikolai asks them, like, so how was everything while I was away? Because remember, they were in, they were at that meeting in Yvette's where, like, we had some issues. So here's a quote and the answer. Truckin says, not much to report here, though an Infernai did set fire to the woods behind the lake. Sounds like Kue. Nikolai admired the shoe boy's gift for mayhem, especially because the young Infernai was Zoya's problem to manage. End quote. I just wanted to put that in there because it Kue. Like, I mean, he's there and he's still in Oz Alta. And of course, like, I don't know. I just think that's cool. So we know that he's there, and yeah, Ravka's hosting Kue still. So going on, Nikolai is, I guess, trying to broaden out his languages. So he is currently trying, I guess he's being tutored by one of these brothers. He's trying to learn Zemini from Isaac. So like he's speaking to him and then like says like a couple words in Zemini, and then Isaac bows slightly. Your accent is coming along nicely, Your Majesty. That was Isaac, by the way. Don't coddle me, Isaac. The guard cleared his throat. Well, the Zemini word for day is Khan, not Cav, unless you meant to ask how my donkey is going. I wish your donkey well, but you should always feel free to correct me when I make mistakes. End quote. So I'm sorry, I didn't deliver that as well as I thought, but I just thought that was so funny because I forget how much I like Nikolai's humor. And like, oh my God, I just think that's hilarious that he responds and like he wishes the donkey well. Cute.
I think we have a new term or like a new little phrase for us now too.
Mm.
What is it? Cav
Y-
Anani?
yeah, he's.
Cavanani? How's your donkey?
I wish your donkey well. How's your donkey? Carrying on, Nikolai. So like they're getting back and getting back in, and Nikolai's first stop actually is the Little Palace, which we haven't heard about in a while. But if you remember, back in the very beginning, the Shadow and Bone trilogy, that was the school for Grisha. There are so when they get there, there are Grisha just running around everywhere, and it's a you notice the difference in the colors and because of the keftas that all the Grisha are wearing. So it's kind of neat. But here's here's a quote talking about Tolya and Tamar. Quote, uniforms Tolya and Tamar had resolutely refused to wear, opting for the olive drab of First Army soldiers instead. The twins kept their arms bare, their deep bronze skin tattooed with markings of the sunset. End quote. So, because they're Grisha too, but they don't want to wear those keftas, and they're from the Shadow and Bone trilogy too. So I like that there's that nod to the Sun Saint still. So they keep travel. They're going into the little palace and they meet up with none other than Zoya and Jenya, who are waiting in the war room. And there is mention of a Grisha triumvirate. So, real quickly, refresher course. Who and what is the Grisha triumvirate? And I'm also going to give a little trip down memory lane of the Grisha history up to now because we're just going to need it, okay? So, in the very beginning of our story back in Shadow and Bone, the Darkling was the head of the Grisha, also known as the Second Army. Now it is ruled by a Grisha from all three orders, currently having the reigning members Zoya, Jenya, and David, who were appointed by Alina Starkov, the Sun Summoner, after her martyrdom at the end of the Rovkin Civil War. Currently, there is no information regarding how the triumvirate are to be selected in the future or how long they will serve these positions. Also, it's not known to anyone like what their power is in the Rovkin government. The only thing that people seem to know is that they work very closely with the king of Ravka. So it's very they like so the triumvirate is the what the Darkling used to be, except I like the fact that they like it's three people and one from each order because it's polar opposite of how the Darkling ruled over the Grisha. Um, a lot has changed with this like peaceful transfer of power from when the Darkling like was running these things. There is there's no longer this divide that the orders and the idea has dissolved of a difference in status and hierarchy based on the different powers each order held because I felt like the Darkling kind of made the Grisha feel that like there was a hierarchy, that they weren't all equal, that the Corporalkai were the most important, and like it I don't know, it was just kind of interesting. And then of course the Darkling himself, nobody was like him. He was just untouchable. So I think it's just a neat nod to see how different it is to have actually just like the Grisha triumvirate running the Grisha army. So I'm done with that. Just a little, you know,
Little tidbit.
just a tidbit because we have to remember some of that stuff. So the Grisha triumvirate usually met Nikolai in the Grand Palace for their meetings, but when Nikolai needed secrecy and to make sure no one overheard the conversations, he held them in what used to be the Darkling's chambers. Here's the quote referring to the Darkling. He was a man who had excelled at keeping secrets. The war room had no windows and only a single entrance that couldn't be accessed without breaching the little palace itself. The walls were lined with maps of Ravka made in the old style. They would have enchanted Nikolai as a child had he ever been allowed anywhere near the palace. End quote. So we've got I think it's just these neat little nods that they're to the Darkling, just in how he was so secretive, and they've obviously Nikolai's got something to say. So we're gonna find out what this is. So they're having a secret little meeting. Nikolai updates the Triumvirate and on how David and Nadia have been creating, I guess, the weapons for the submarines, the Ismarnia, because they're still working on that. And here is where it gets a little tricky with this. Okay, so Zoya tells them that Hiram Shank and the Kerch Merchant Council know about their design for the underwater fleet. So that I guess that was supposed to be a secret. Hiram Shank and the merchants of the Kerch Council claimed they wanted the Ismarnia as a defensive measure against their Shu neighbors and the possibility of Fjordan blockades. But Nikolai knew better. They all did. The Kerch already had a target in mind: Zemeni ships. End quote. Okay, so this is where... Okay, there's a lot going on here. And I had to actually read over this twice because it's just we have to know what's going on in the Grishaverse with everybody, and it kind of starts to tell you, but it got me confused for a minute. So let's not forget that one, Ravka is broke where we left off from Crooked Kingdom because they had the Civil War made them completely broke. They had to they haven't been able to replenish their forces, and they have had to get loans from Kerch to stay afloat. Now, Kerch has been the main country of trade and of the seas and ports. So now we're gonna find out why Kerch needed to try to hurt the Zemeni ships. Novia Zem, who we haven't really heard much about, just a little bit, has been sitting quietly becoming a strong nation all on its own. And if you've looked at the map, it is the nation on the very far left, farthest away from everybody else. So, one, they don't have countries surrounding them to create wars, and they also have fields and mines and have built ports and ships of their own. So Kerch now has competition, and that's what all this is about. And here comes the problem. Ravka needs some help, but is doing it quietly so no one really knows how desperate the situation is. Also, don't forget, Perem is not fully out of the picture. Ravka is getting intel that their neighboring countries, Fjorda and Shuhan, are close to having a usable strain of Perem for themselves. So, of course, that's not good for Ravka because that means more dead Grisha, more dead Ravkans. Luckily, Ravka has Kuei working for them, and he's trying to create an antidote to the Parem. One small problem. On this shopping list of ingredients to create this, antidote, the recipe asks for a ton of the Jurda plants. And Jurda is a fickle plant that only grows in a specific environment. And where is that? Only in one place in all of the Grishaverse, Novia Zem. It's the only place you can get it. So, Ravka needs the Jurda to save their Grisha, and then the Kerch wants the blueprints to Ravka's submarines so they can go and blow up all of Novia Zem's ships and take back over the sea so they can be head of trade. Unfortunately, this kind of is just this weird choice that Ravka feels like it has to make because it needs something from both of these countries, but both those countries can't know that they're going to be working together. Also, don't forget, Fjorda and Shuhan are getting closer to developing this strain, and Nikolai has promised Ravka that there no more war. So with like both countries next to Ravka, like wanting to kind of fight, Nikolai's stressed out. I mean, he needs something. He needs this antidote, and he also doesn't have any money, and needs to pay back Kirch. So it's a ton of drama to throw in the fact that Nikolai also has this crazy monster thing that he's like, he's his new best friend, the Dr. Jekyll Nikolai Hyde monster thing. I don't know. is that he's gonna definitely need some therapy, because this just seems like a lot. Um, did that make any sense to you, Terry?
Yes, it did.
Are you
I
sure?
think you've kind of cleared it up for me.
Okay, because I felt like then like reading it, I was like, oh my god, I feel like I'm confusing everybody again. Like I get it, but like, okay, I'm glad. If you didn't get it, um, you can rewind and see if it makes sense again, or ask someone else. Um, um, so anyways, Nikolai then shares in his meeting, that he still has some more bad news besides all that other stuff that he just delivered. Um, that when he was on this trip in Yvette's, he tells them that his monster took over him again and seems to be getting stronger. So Jenya seems to shudder at this a little bit, and it's because we have to remember Jenya was also attacked by the Darkling and tortured by the Darkling, and it actually was the same creatures that did the tortured Jenya and Nikolai, those crazy Nietzsche Voya. Um, so here's a quote. The Darkling had known that Jenya valued beauty as her shield, so he had taken it from her. He had known that Nikolai relied on his mind, his talent for thinking his way out of any situation, so he let the demon steal Nikolai's ability to speak and think rationally. The Darkling could have killed either of them, but he had wanted to punish them instead. End quote. That's just horrible. David explains that they are, unfortunately, this monster, they are dealing with something very different than Grisha magic. So it's not like they can be like, hey, David, like, we've got to make this. What is this? David doesn't know. He knows about Grisha magic. This is not that. This is a whole other kind of like strain of something, which, if we remember, it's like, it's just this, it has a name. So let me read on this quote. And Grisha power cannot create life or animate matter, only manipulate it. Every time those limits are breached, there are repercussions. The shadow fold, said Nikolai. The swath of darkness crawling with monsters had split Ravka in two until Alina Starkov had destroyed it during the Civil War. But the wound remained, a wasteland of dead sand where nothing green took hold, as if the Darkling's power had leached the very life from the land. Merzost had created the fold, the creatures inside it, as well as the Darkling shadow soldiers, and it was the same power that the Darkling had used to infect Nikolai. End quote. So, Nikolai, I mean, it's just, Nikolai is infected with this crazy monster thing, and it is not normal, and it's getting stronger. So they've tried countless times to heal him, but nothing has worked. It's the reason Nikolai went to Yvette's, actually, because he's trying to figure out what's going on himself. He went to Yvette's to see the bone bridge because apparently he's made the connection that this monster and the miracles happening around Ravka both started around the same time. Nikolai comes up with a plan to so Nikolai's trying to we've got all this crazy stuff in Ravka. Remember, they need to cure Nikolai. They also need to make sure that Jurda Parem does not get created and kill more Grisha. They hope that the two countries around them don't start a war and bury Ravka in the dust, and then there's these random miracles happening everywhere. So they've got to do something because Ravka needs to like do something they got to fix. So, of course, Nikolai has to come up with an idea. So, Nikolai comes up with the plan to throw a party and invite all his enemies and allies to the palace so that they can spy on all of them in hopes of discovering something from them, like a cure or what's going on around the Grishaverse. And which is kind of crazy to throw a party and invite all your enemies and everybody. So, and also they've got to have a reason. So they come up with a reason that Nikolai's not too happy with, which is for Nikolai's very own version of The Bachelor. He needs to find himself a wife. So, they're gonna plan a party. Everybody in the Grishaverse is going to come, and they're all going to bring their beautiful ladies to hopefully entice Nikolai and be able to forge allies. And, like, that's, yeah. So, here's a quote. Nikolai said to Tolya, anticipate that every servant, every guard, every lady in waiting will be potential spy or assassin. Speaking of which, said Tamar, Dunyasha is dead. The Lantsov pretender. Who got her? Not one of ours. All I know is they found her splattered on the cobblestones outside the Church of Barter after the auction. Troubling. Had she been in Ketterdan to hunt him? She wasn't the only pretender to the Lantsov throne. Every few months, it seemed a new person cropped up to declare that they were a lost Lantsov heir, someone who insisted they'd escaped the Darkling slaughter of the royal family, or who claimed to be a byblow of Nikolai's father, which, given the old king's behavior, was entirely plausible. Of course, Nikolai might very well have less right to the Ravkan throne than half of them. He was the greatest pretender of them all, end quote. And what that is in reference to is when, like, I'm way back in the trilogy. Well, you know what? No, I'm going to tell you. Yeah, I'm going to read this. So we're going to continue on. So that evening, Zoya puts together a list of, I guess, like, princesses, and she's just reading off these names, and every time she reads a name, Nikolai says no. And I mean, this just goes on for pages. And Zoya starts to get a little irritated. Nikolai reminds Zoya that this matchmaking game is actually a cover-up. It's a cover-up for the Kerch and Zemeni, so that, like, they can, like, Kerch, they're going to secretly, like, show them, like, the submarines, like they would love, but they're going to, like, have it also kind of explode so that the Zemen, so that the Kerch don't think that they totally have the submarine blueprints ready. Now, the Zemeni, they're meeting with them. They're going to just kind of be like, hey, we're allies still, so can we get some of that Jurda? Zoya has seen this as an actual opportunity to kill two birds with one stone and to secure the Ravkan throne as well. Further down this list of bachelorettes, Zoya offers up this one name, Linnea Opger, and Nikolai responds with a no. Zoya has had enough. This is a girl who is 23, beautiful, even-tempered, and has a strong gift for mathematics. Nikolai surprises Zoya by saying he would expect nothing less of his half-sister. So, that's what I was trying to get back to. Rumors concerning Nikolai and him being the rightful heir to the Ravkan throne had been told since before he was even born, and we even knew about it when he told Alina back in the trilogy. So he actually reaches for his desk and pulls out this picture and hands it to Zoya, and he says that this was handed to him by his mother when he was really young, right before she, like, was dragged off, and was like, this is your actual biological father. And He is a Fjordan shipping magnate who had once served as emissary to the Grand Palace. And that's all he knew. So Zoya takes the picture and throws it in the fire. Nikolai gets upset because obviously that's the only picture of his real dad. But Zoya, like, she's like, I mean, I just get it. She's infuriated because she's like, how can you have this even around? This is proof that you should not be on the throne. And they kind of start squabbling, and Zoya just like shuts him up by like saying like, look, I made an oath to protect you, and I'm not going to break that. You are the king of Ravka, and you're going to stay that. So, yeah, no evidence. And that brings us to our scene, which also will be ending out our chapters and reading sections. So, this scene is just continuing on their conversation. I'm going to be playing Zoya, and Terry will be playing Nikolai. And also a very special thank you for the background music created by Kendra Dantes and produced by Year 26. So, girl, I just talked a lot, didn't even hear your voice. You know what's going on? Are we caught up? Are you here?
I am here.
Okay. That was a lot. That was a lot
You
going
did
on.
a good job, though.
I hope. I mean, watch. We'll probably get comments of like people like being like, I have no clue like what like. I ended up texting Terry and saying like, I have to read my chapter over again because like this thing going on in the Grishaverse is really important. I know because they're like making such a big deal about it, but I have no clue what's going on. So, anyways,
It was a lot.
it was. We got it. Let's do our scene. So, curtain up.
One day you will overstep, and I will not be so forgiving.
On that day you may clap me in irons and throw me in your dungeons. She crossed the room, took the glass from his hands and set it on the table. But tonight it is you who wears chains. Her voice was almost kind.
Nikolai released a sigh. After this business of this evening, it will be a relief. He unlocked his bedchamber.
Servants were allowed access to clean only under Tolya and Tamar's supervision, and only once a week. He had no personal valet and attended to his own bath.
Though it had become his nightly prison, the room itself was a sanctuary, maybe the only place in the palace that truly felt like it belonged to him. The walls were painted the deep blue of the sea, and the map above the mantel had been taken from the cabin he'd once occupied as Sturmund, when he disguised himself as a privateer and sailed the world's oceans aboard the Volcany. A long glass stood propped on a tripod by the bank of the windows. He couldn't see much through it, the stars, the houses of the upper town, but even having it there gave him some sense of peace, as if he might one day put his eye to it and see the heaving soldiers of a great gray sea. Salt water in the veins, one of his crewmen had told him. We go mad if we're too long on shore. Nikolai would not go mad, at least not from being landlocked. He had been born to be a king, even if his blood told a different story, and he could see his country to victory again. But first, he had to make it through the night. He sat down at the edge of the bed, removed his boots, and clamped the iron fetters around each of his ankles, then lay back.
Zoya waited, and he was grateful for it. It was a small thing to be the one to chain himself, but it allowed him to keep control for a short time longer. Only when Nikolai had fastened the fetter to his left wrist did she approach. Ready?
He nodded. In these moments, her ruthlessness made it all a bit more bearable.
Zoya would never indulge him, never shame him with pity. She tugged on the special lock that David had rigged. With a sudden clanking whir, 3 chains shot across his body at the knees, midriff, and shoulders.
He was strong when the beast came upon him, and they could take no chances. He knew this, should be used to the experience of the restraint, and still all he wanted was to struggle. Instead, he kept his easy demeanor and offered up his right wrist to Zoya. And what are your plans for the evening, darling jailer? Heading to a secret rendezvous?
Zoya blew out a disgruntled breath as she bent to fasten the last fetter and check the security of the locks. As if I have the time.
I know you go somewhere late at night, Zoya, he prodded. He was curious, but also eager for distraction. You've been seen on the grounds, though no one seems to know where you go.
I go a lot of places, Your Highness, and if you keep prying into my personal life, I'll have some suggestions as to where you can go.
Why keep your dalliance a secret? Is he an embarrassment? Nikolai flexed his fingers, trying to even his breathing.
Zoya turned her head, and the lamplight caught the crescent of her cheekbone, gilding the dark waves of her hair. He never quite managed to make himself immune to her beauty, and he was glad his arms were chained to the bed, or he might have been tempted to reach for her. Keep still, she snapped. You're worse than a child given too many cakes.
Bless her poisoned tongue. You could stay, Zoya. Entertain me with lively tales of your childhood. I find your spite very soothing.
Why don't I ask Tolia to soothe you by reciting some poetry?
There it is. So sharp, so acerbic, better than any lullaby.
As the last lock clinked home, her sleeve slid back, revealing the silver cuff that circled her wrist, pieces of bone of what might have been teeth fused with the metal.
He had never seen her without it and wasn't even sure if it could be removed. He knew a bit about amplifiers. He had even helped Alina secure the scales of the Sea Whip, the second of Mortsova's legendary amplifiers. But he could admit there was a whole universe he didn't know. Tell me something, Nazulinsky. David had said transgressing the boundaries of Grisha power had repercussions. But doesn't an amplifier do just that? Is Param any different?
Zoya brushed her fingers over the metal, her face thoughtful. I'm not sure Parem is so different from Merzost. Like Merzost, the drug requires a terrible sacrifice for the power it grants, a Grisha's will, even her life. But amplifiers are something else. They're rare creatures tied to the making at the heart of the world, the source of all creation. When an amplifier gives up its life, that is the sacrifice the universe requires. The bond is forever forged with the Grisha who deals the killing blow. It's a terrible thing, but beautiful as well. Merzost is...
Abomination. I know. It's a good thing I have such a fondness for myself.
All Grisha feel the pull towards Merzost, the hunger to see just what we might do if we had no limits.
Even you?
A small smile touched Zoya's lips, especially me. Power is protection. Before Nikolai could ask what she meant, she added, but the price for that particular kind of power is too high. When the Darkling tried to create his own amplifiers, the result was the fold. She held up her arm, the cuff glinting in the lamplight. This is enough for me.
The shark teeth worn by the twins, mused Nikolai. Jinya's kestrel bones. I've heard the stories behind all of them, but you've never told me the tale of the amplifier you wear.
Zoya raised a brow. In the space of a breath, the contemplative girl was gone and the distant general had returned. Steel is earned, Your Highness. So are stories. She rose. And I believe you're stalling.
You found me out. He was sorry to see her leave, whatever guise she wore.
Good night, Commander.
Good night, King Wretch. He would not beg Zoya to stay. It was not in his nature to plead with anyone, and that was not the pact they shared. They did not look to each other for comfort. They kept each other marching. They kept each other strong. So he would not find another excuse to get her talking again. He would not tell her he was afraid to be left alone with the thing he might become, and he would not ask her to leave the lamp burning, a child's bit of magic to ward off the dark. But he was relieved when she did it anyway.
End scene, end chapter. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Aww.
I really love that scene. Because there was just a lot in it. And are you, like, I mean, I think I've, like, are you noticing that they are really like going heavy into like bringing up like Shadow and Bone stuff? Like,
Yeah, we're coming back around from Shadow and Bone because we kind of missed out on a lot of that through the Crow duology. So I think we're coming back into where we left off. That well, not really where we left off, but kind of picking back up on it.
right.
And Nikolai loves Zoya.
Yes, I mean, she's beautiful,
He
and
loves her.
uh,
He wants to date her. He wants to kiss her.
she's beautiful. I love Zoya. She's my favorite. She is like actually she is the back screen of my phone. I love her, and she's like, I mean, I would be Zoya, and I love some of the outfits. I didn't. We have a very long episode, so I'm very sorry. I took out some of the quotes because I didn't want to read them because I knew we were just there's too much stuff. But like, they described her like kefta at one point, and it was hot. I mean, fashion moment. So, anyways, that was our chapters, and now it's that time for GrishaCast news. I love it. So I love all you listeners that have made it this far, because if you've made it this far, that means you have still listened, and we're in two different places. And I'm sure we've probably had some moments where there's been some pauses. And anyways, thank you for dealing with that. So that was fun. um, okay. So we had a lot of news. We're gonna get through it. So I need my producer to put up picture number 1. We got a date. Shadow and Bone. It comes out April 23rd, 2021. Okay, amazing. Not only did we get that, but at the same time, they also started releasing these other pictures. So, please show the next picture. Okay, amazing picture. It's kind of looks like a movie poster. This has got to be Mal, of course. And you can show the next picture and who do we got here? This has got to be Alina. I love it. And then we'll keep going on. Okay, kind of cool. Darkling in like his mysterious kind of black stuff going on. And then the next. This is a beautiful picture. This is Jesper. Those guns are really cool to see. And next picture, I guess. Who's that? It's our favorite knife tosser. It's a Nej. And next is our favorite. Terry and I love this picture. This is, of course, Kaz, where you see the cane, the leather gloves. And so these pictures all got released at like one time. It was I was at work and I almost had a heart attack, literally. Like, not even kidding, because the way they did this was pretty much each like actor, I think they had one picture, and then they all released it at like the same time as they released Shadow and Bone coming out like on April 23rd. So like it was just this multitude of like, oh my god, because we don't have anything. We've been waiting for this. It's amazing, Terry.
Yeah, it was that was crazy enough, and it was like our first look at all of like the costumes, which just amazing. Like even Jesper's mouth
Yeah.
is like exactly how I pictured him, which was so crazy. But like just his mouth, I was like, oh my god, that's what I saw in my head. And then Nej, we see her, all of her like where some of the knives are
Yes.
secured. She said that they had 14 knives stashed in her costume.
Wow. And I love that you can't see any of the faces in these posters. So
Yes. It's a focus on like their costumes and we know who they are based on their costumes, which is amazing.
Yes. And it was really cool. So like I saw this on my break, luckily, and I then immediately went back into work and filled out a requesting time off because I am not gonna be working on Friday, April 23rd. So, um, been waiting for this for way too long, so I took the day off. Um, anyways, that wasn't the only news that got released that day. So Terry is gonna tell us about what else got released.
Yeah, so then in the same day, because that wasn't enough, then Hello Entertainment Weekly decides to pull up pictures from the actual show. So we've got some like show stills,
Yep.
which just I was already emotional, and then it just like
I know. So
and then there's more.
yeah, they actually gave us so these photos are actually from the show. So you tell me when you
So
want to do a picture. So do we want to put
the
up?
first
Oh, good.
picture,
It's right there. Perfect.
we have Mal
Yes. This
in the snow with a gun drawn.
that is
So is he hunting the stag at this point?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, it's very possible. It is. I mean, we do know that.
It's
Or
snowing.
it could
They
also
were out in the winter.
yeah, because the beginning of Shadow and Bone wasn't. I don't think it was winter. I can't remember if we even knew this season in the very beginning. Because I'm
I
thinking, like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it was like I know they were out on like the sand skiff. So in my brain, it's all like deserty,
right. So
which is probably not accurate like at all, but that's what my brain says. But if you go to the next picture,
oh my god.
then you have Mal again, and it's
Mhm.
obviously not winter because
Oh yeah,
he's got guns out because the sun's out.
the guns. The guns are
It's a
out,
different kind of guns that he's got out.
and it's cute to see, like, they're really like. I mean, you can tell they're enjoying each other, and I love
Yeah,
seeing this. Ugh.
I think they have like even in that picture they have really good chemistry. So I'm excited to see that like on screen.
And even just looking at the background of the people behind them, like behind Alina, you see like a soldier. Like, I mean, I'm just looking at that outfit, like how it's just we're seeing more story than we ever have, and it's just kind of neat to see this stuff. And yeah, that's got to be on that skiff. So,
Yes.
wow.
Okay. So the third picture,
Sorry.
I freaked out. Like I 100% freaked out at this picture because there's my girl Nina and there's her man Matthias, and this has to be the shipwreck scene. So we are getting the shipwreck scene in the season, which is just I'm so baffled, and it makes me tongue tied and emotional because you know how much I love Nina.
Huh.
And I wasn't expecting this. I was not 100% not expecting this.
I didn't try to place these photos, and I didn't notice that, but you're absolutely right. That's gotta be like, wow. Okay. Wow.
Oh,
Cool.
whew, okay. So, moving on. Next, we have our chickadee Inej, who
Mm-hmm.
is looking fierce and fine.
Yes.
Looks like she's got a knife in her hand. She's in some interior looks like she's like, I don't know, maybe having a conversation, but she is just like intense in that picture.
Yes.
And her skin is just absolutely gorgeous.
Flawless.
Flawless. Okay. And then the next one, we have Alina, and the article, actually it was Lee Bardugo who said that this is Alina on a sand skiff.
Oh. Yeah.
And that we need to pay attention to the scarf because it's indicative of what's going to happen later. And Eric and I kind of talked about this a little bit. So there's two ways I think we can go with this. One, the
Mm-hmm.
colors are blue and gold. And so that is kind of foreshadowing to what her order would be within Grisha,
Mm-hmm.
because she would be
Ethereal.
wearing blue, and
Right.
she's the only one that gets gold because she's a sun summoner.
Right. But she wouldn't know
Um,
that yet, which would be.
no, so it's funny that she's wearing the colors.
Yeah.
And then two, remember when she has to wear the scarf to cover up her amplifier,
Yes.
her giant like antlers around her neck? She had to wear a scarf everywhere. So I think that scarf, if this is the very beginning, then that
Yes.
scarf is like a foreshadowing tool for sure.
Yeah. I think. I mean, I think it's because if this is the beginning, then she doesn't even know that she's a sun summoner yet.
No.
And I know that in the first book, she goes through like a couple different keftas. And yeah, like, I mean, the gold lining would have been specific to her. Because she would have been the only one with the gold lining, I think. Because she was a
Yeah.
sun summoner. But yeah, that's gotta be it. It's gotta be like nods to all those. I mean,
Which that kind of detail, if we have that kind of detail in the show,
mm,
you and I are going to have to watch each episode like 20 times to pick it apart if we're getting that kind of finite detail.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, all right. So moving on to Mr. Ben as the
Ah,
Darkling.
yeah.
Can we just talk about the depth of his eyeballs in this picture? His eyes look so dark and so like not evil but like dark, like as the Darkling.
He
Um
he's perfect for
Obviously
it.
I guess I had something else in mind for the Darkling, but like seeing him
Mm.
in the costume, I'm for it. I love the little buckles in the front that have like little moons on them.
Wait till you hear him speak. He does part I think he does all the men's story in the audiobook for The Lives of Saints that just came out, and that sealed the deal for me. It was just it's amazing. So, yeah. Cool to
I
see him.
have heard him speak, and he does have a really nice voice.
Yeah.
So then the next picture,
Our favorite.
we have some of our crows. We have Kaz, who
Oh.
has a chin dimple and a face dimple. We have Inej, who is like just an amazing. I can't even say what I want to say because that would
I know.
require curse words.
Nope.
And then like Jesper, I can't even begin to tell you guys how much the actor Jesper looks exactly like Jesper in my brain.
I know.
They did such a good job with him.
Yeah. And I love like how you can tell Inej is so small, but she's so fierce, and I love that. And Kaz's face in this picture.
Look at the intensity on his face.
Yeah. And oh my god, this is amazing. So this all these photos one day
Yes.
would just give a Grishaverse fan like us a heart attack. I was losing my mind. And people at work had they just hadn't. I couldn't explain it, and I couldn't even like post it fast enough and try to get it to Terry and then get it to Chris, and I was just like, oh my god, so much. We got so much info. So,
and it was the exact same day
yeah,
that I got a book. I got the
yeah, congratulations.
that I was one of the 50 that got the personalized book. So it was a huge day.
Yeah, that must have been amazing for you. I'm very happy. So if you listened, or even if you listened to last week, I gave you preparation for it. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have told people about it because I tried every single day, Monday through Friday. It was 11 a.m. our time that it started, and I never got a book. I got an email. I got this like error message once that said, "You have one book in your cart, but there is only one book remaining. Denied." That doesn't even make sense. But
It doesn't.
I'm sorry. I had I didn't get one, but I did. I mean, you got one, so that's good. I'm proud of you. You just
Who else
boom.
got one?
I'm sure
Let us
all our
know if you
listeners
got
did.
one.
One of you guys owes me a book. Well, actually, no, it's not even that. What I want those pre-gifts. That's what I'm interested in. I can't wait for those. So I pre-ordered this book actually when it first got announced on Amazon forever ago. So I'm just gonna send them that receipt. Maybe they'll send me
Yeah.
something. You never know. So
Isn't it for like all pre-orders? It's not just for that one.
oh, is it
Right?
not? Can I really do that? I don't know.
That's my understanding. Like I guess we should go through and read it again. But like I heard that it was like all pre-orders.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
not. Y'all don't listen to me on that because I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, it was a busy week with news. So
So busy.
yeah, so that was all the news. And real quickly, a reminder: if you wanted to be a part of the Lee Bardugo's birthday present, which is April 6th, I have been sending out some of those journal entry topics and this week. So yeah, if you want to, all you got to do is just get in touch with us and let us know. It's 200 words max, and that's it. And you can pick a topic, or I can pick one for you. So, anyways, moving on, we definitely have to, before we go, we've got some listener thank yous. We have a new listener, and she sent a message. Her name is Rachel on Instagram, and it was so sweet because she said she loves our podcast, and the only thing that was sad was that she just now discovered it. And I was just like, well, girl, you'll be fine. Yeah, take it as, like, I mean, you have plenty of time to catch up. Yeah, I mean, thank you for loving it. That's awesome. So,
Thank you so much.
and who do you have?
So we need to give a big shout out to Aaron Davenport. Thank you so much, so much, for your support. We'll put it that way. Thank you for your support, for everything that you did for us, and are continuing to do for us. He is now a big fan. He
Aw.
ordered all the books. He's gonna start reading and following along. So we just wanted to give a big heartfelt shout out. Thank you to Aaron. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aaron. And and on Facebook, thank you to Rachel Fry and also to Lisa Stofko. We love all of our listeners. We love it when you guys reach out to us. So I mean, it just thank you. We love what we do. We have some stuff that we're not going to tell you about that we're trying to plan. So some things are getting kind of, I don't know, got some ideas and we've got some cool stuff we're going to do. And also, I do want to apologize for the listeners that didn't get to see the photos that while we talked about them. But if you're curious, you can find them. So hopefully you all are, obviously you're great, huge Grishaverse fans, so you probably have seen everything that we're even talking about. But go to YouTube if you haven't, and you can see them in the order that we described them. So
They're also on our socials.
yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, I didn't put I forgot. I got to put the other ones on Instagram. So the article ones. But
I linked the article on Twitter.
really? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so that's it, folks. And then we did chapters 5 and 6 this evening. So let's do 7 through 9 because that's going to it'll equal out. 7's a bigger chapter, and then 8 and 9 will add up to the same amount that was in 7. So 7 through 9, it's going to get interesting. Yeah, that's awesome. So, we love you guys, and I hope you guys loved Terry. She's definitely, I mean, she's hanging in there. This lovely paper. I didn't use all the pictures. Hey, I had to talk to something. I mean, I'm talking to her, but I mean, anyways, we got to stop talking. Terry, see, this is a problem when you're not here, like live, because like I don't stop. Okay, so I love you all. Okay, outro.
Like we're at the end of the hour, so my voice is a little husky. A plus.
No mourners.
No funeral.
This has been GrishaCast. Connect with us on the web at GrishaCast.com. Send an email to info@GrishaCast.com.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at GrishaCast.
A special thank you for the background music created by Kinder Dantes and produced by Year 26.